All right, welcome back, people. So this is our second and final lesson in week 4, where we're going to still work with cosine law, but now we're going to work with it in the last opportunity where you have to use cosine law. So you're going to find your homework in section 2.7 because we're doing 2.7 in the worksheets. I'm asking you to do 2, 4, 7, and 12, the ones that are listed there on those sheets. And of course, check your answers with those solutions posted. Again, if you didn't print, just copy. There's really only one question that we're going to do today, but we're going to do a full question. And you're going to see me apply this formula a couple of ways. So what happens when you are given 3 sides and no angles? So this is what we would call SSS, right? Side, side, side. There's no angles. The one you saw in 2.6 was SAS, where at least you were given one angle. This case, only 3 sides and no angles. So you're given this, this, and this. Well, obviously sine law is not going to work. But even cosine law, because it has an angle in it. So remember, cosine law was a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So remember the actual formula for cosine law looked like that. Well, it has the 3 sides in it, but this is actually the part that's missing. So it's not even set up right now for us to solve for what's missing. So what we need to do is we need to rearrange cosine law to put the angle on this side and put the ABCs, the sides, on the other side of the equal sign so that we're isolating for the angle that we're actually interested in. So that's what we do. Now they're listed here. They're not 3 different formulas. It just depends if you're looking for angle A, angle B, or angle C. You can memorize these formulas or one formula if you want to memorize the pattern. There's nothing wrong with that if you like to memorize things. I'm going to show you, though, how you don't need to memorize because you already know this formula for cosine law. What we're going to do is we're always going to start with this and then rearrange this as needed to get what we want, in this case, the angle. So what I'd like you to do is to copy down triangle ABC that you see here. Notice that little a is 30, little b is 38, and little c is 26. So what's going to happen is we need to obviously solve the triangle like the directions tell us. It doesn't tell us which one to solve for first, so that means it's up to you. You can solve for any angle you want first. Of course, it's not a 90-degree triangle, so we cannot use SOHCAHTOA, and we don't have any angles, so we can't use sine law. So this is an SSS, a side situation. So you get to pick what angle you want to find first, because obviously we have to find all of them eventually. So let's go for angle A, since most people would probably go for that one. What we're going to do is we're going to set up cosine law to make sure that we get angle A in it. So if that's my theta, my unknown angle, I have to make sure that capital A is in the formula. And the only way that capital A is in the formula is if I start the formula with little a. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc, no, I forgot the 2 there, cos capital A. So that would have been my step 1. Realizing that this is what I need. So he has to be there, and the only way he's going to be there is if little a is in the front. But this is the wrong order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange this. The way to rearrange it is to first kick out the b squared and the c squared. Now, they're both pluses on this side. So when they go over and join the a squared is not moving. They're going to become subtract. And what you're left with is negative 2 times b times c times cos A. Now the next thing you're going to kick out is the negative 2bc part. We don't want that part because we're just trying to isolate and get to the angle. So what's happening between the c and the cos, what's happening between this section and the cos is multiplying. And the way to get rid of that is through division. So we need to divide out negative because we want the negative to go away. We want the 2 to go away. We want the b to go away. We want the c to go away. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So the negative goes away, the 2 goes away, the b goes away, the c goes away. What that leaves you with is just cosine A, which is good. And on the other side, a squared minus b squared minus c squared all over negative 2 times b times c. And there you go. There's your formula. So we don't have to memorize this formula because I already know where it comes from. So that is definitely a strategy. That's one I use. I don't memorize this version of the formula, but there is a pattern to it. Notice B and C, the second two sides, are the two that are at the bottom. The side that matches the angle is positive in the front with a negative next to the 2. So it's the opposite version of the ones that are at the top of the page. Same formula, just opposite version. So now that we have a formula, let's actually plug in our numbers. So for capital A, so for vertex A, we start with little a first. So the 30 gets squared minus little b, which is 38 squared, minus c, which is 26 squared, all over negative 2 times the same 38 number and the same 26 number. And I'm just going to move the cos A to the other side just to save some space. There we go. So there's no trick in your calculator to this. Just figure out your numerator. So 30 squared minus 38 squared minus 26 squared. And on top, negative 12, 20. And on the bottom, negative 2 times 38 times 26, negative 1976. So do it in 2 steps. Write out your numerator, write out your denominator. And of course, we're going to divide these two numbers together. But realizing that a negative divided by negative is a positive. Whatever 1220 divided by 1976 is, it's that 0.617 number. So 0.617, remember that you have to inverse it because we're interested in just the angle. So 0.617408906, do not round, do not call that 0.6 because that's wrong. While it's all still in your calculator, this is where you go, second function cos. We inverse cos out of it to give us back the angle, 51.87. So let's go 51.9 to 1 decimal place. Now, it's important though you remember to show your inversing step. Here you notice I wrote out the entire decimal. I could have just written the fraction again with the inverse cos in front of it. It wouldn't have mattered. Now that we know that angle A is 51.9 degrees, we now have options. So when now we go for angle B, I can use cosine law again. So for angle B, dot, dot, I'll do it down here. I'm going to redo exactly what I just did. And you can see that I'm going to pretend now that my angle that I'm interested in is corner B. Corner B is opposite the little b. So little b needs to start cosine law. So it would be b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac times cos capital B. So what I'm interested in is the capital B. Kick everything out to the other side. This guy goes over, this guy goes over. B squared minus a squared minus c squared divided by this chunk gets divided by on the bottom. And look at that. There's our rearranged formula. That's just cos B. Then I sub in my numbers. Little b was 38, little a was 30, and little c is 26. Make sure that you have them in the correct order. Don't put the 30 in the front and the 38 second. It does make a difference. Negative 2 times 30 times 26. And again, that is cos B, which I'll move to the other side to give me some room. Use your calculator. 38 squared minus 30 squared minus 26 squared. On top, you get negative 132. And on the bottom, 2 times 30 times 26 gives us negative 1560. Now again, to save myself even more time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write angle B right away, and I'm going to put cos to the minus 1 of that whole fraction. So I'm inversing at the same time I'm writing out my numerator and my denominator. So I'm not writing out this long decimal that I did in the previous example. I'm just saving myself this one step, but I'm still showing my inverse of cos. So 132 divided by 1560, get that decimal of 0.0846. I'm just not writing it down. You can if you want. Inverse cos, 85.1 degrees. There we go, 85.1 degrees. Now, that's if you decided to do cosine law. Some people are going to say, no, I'm going to choose sine law. So what happened was, because we found angle A at 51.9, that gave us a complete angle side ratio. So what we could do is we could solve for angle B now using sine law as our second step. And since I'm looking for an angle for angle B, I'm going to put the angles on top. Sine B over little b equals sine A over little a. Angle B is what I'm looking for. Little b was 38. Sine 51.9 over little a was 30. So you're hoping that your 51.9 degrees from your previous answer is correct. Because if this is wrong, then that means this part is going to be wrong, obviously, because you're carrying it through. The good thing about using cosine law back to back is that we didn't rely on the 51.9 answer that we got from before. We started fresh using cosine law just with the three sides that were given. So there's pros and cons. Bring up the 38, multiply. Angle B is going to be the sine inverse of whatever 38 times sine 51.9 is, all divided by 30. So in your calculator, go sine 51.9 times 38, divide by 30, you get that 0.996 number. While it's there, inverse sine, 85.4. So now let's look at our answers. Using cosine law, I got 85.1. Using sine law, I got 85.4. So we're 3/10 off of each other. This is because 51.9 was rounded. So because this answer is rounded, it means this answer is now inaccurate. So you see that little bit of difference. So this is definitely more of an accurate answer because I didn't rely on my previous rounded answer to get this. So I'm going to rely on the 85.1, but I'm just showing you that you had the option of using sine law if you wanted to. And the third and final step for angle C, just to finish it off, angle C equals 180 minus the 51.9 minus the 85.1. So minus the two angles that you already know. So 180 minus 51.9 minus 85.1. So I'm going to use the one that I think is definitely more accurate, the 85.1 answer. And you get 43 degrees, approximately. So therefore, let's summarize. All three angles. Angle A is 51.9 degrees. Angle B is 85.4 degrees. And angle C is 43 degrees. So those are what I came to as my three missing parts to this triangle to solve for everything that was missing. And of course, you can always go back to your diagram, sub in, fill in 85.4, 85.1. Why did I put 0.4 there? 85.1. The ones that you just figured out, and do your check. Smallest angle, 43, across smallest side. Biggest angle, 85, across the biggest side. And the medium across the medium. So that does actually make sense. So this is showing you how to use cosine law when you're given the side, side, side situation with no angles, how to rearrange it if you don't want to memorize it. Be my guest to memorize it if you want. But I'm showing you how to rearrange it so that as long as you know basic cosine law, you can use it to solve for any missing angle in a triangle. And then either do it again to solve for the second missing angle, or do it in conjunction with sine law and solve for the second missing angle. Totally your choice. Again, you'll find your homework, your practice on 2.7, 2, 4, 7, and 12. That will end this week's lessons because I don't want to overwhelm you too much. After you do that for this week, please ask me if you have any questions. Next week, you will be given some problems to do as word problems. And I'm also going to give you a sort of like a word problem question quiz where you're going to have to use sine law, cosine law, SOHCAHTOA, all combinations to solve for whatever's missing in that situation. All right, so it's very important that you stay up to date and keep up. And of course, ask me if you have any questions. All right, I'll be talking to you soon.